Don't fret, folks. Jeff and the Rabbi are finally back. We actually would have been back a couple of weeks ago, but with all the huge news stories of the day, we got the staff a little bit confused. We had sent the Rabbi over to Russia to cover the most reported and diabolical news story of the century, Trump's Russian collusion. But by the time the Rabbi landed in Vladivostok, his third leg of the destination, we've had a little problem with the JATR travel budget, it's a little low, we had to recall him. For some strange reason, this gargantuan mammoth story of wanton wickedness had disappeared from the CNN/DNC screaming points. Now it seemed that a better story of Trumpian transgression was occurring in Virginia. And the Trump-Putin treason pact melted quicker than that Clinton woman in a YMCA hot tub with her pet wing monkeys. So off the Rabbi flew to Charlottesville to get his story. Well, by the time our great Talmudist trekked treacherously through Virginia, following the story of the smashed historical statues, he put more miles through the Shenandoah Valley than Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general, not the Asian sports guy. So, to make a short story long, the Rabbi finally made it back to Atlanta, but missed the entire eclipse thing. So he wanted to give his 2 shekels worth on that today. So with that dazzling but probably pointless intro, here's what the show is going to be about. Why were all these people getting so freaked out and unhinged about the total eclipse of the sun? Maybe if they realized that the universe, and the climate by the way, are not in man's control, but rather in the hand of the Almighty, they would realize there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to get so excited about. God's got this. Your life is not out of control. You can relax and know that there is some cosmic order to this place. Now with that said, take it away, Rabbi Freeman.
Whoa, what an intro that was.
Yes.
First of all, a few points that I'd like to just straighten out for the sake of truth. And one is, I did drive through the Shenandoah Valley actually twice.
Okay, good.
And I actually went through Charlottesville. Of course, I not only did not realize any of this stuff was happening, but since I was on vacation, I turned off the news. So I only found out about the whole Charlottesville thing after it all happened. So I missed it entirely. Anyway, so I did see Shenandoah Valley. I did see Charlottesville. Shenandoah Valley was very beautiful. And when I got back here on Monday, last Monday, a week ago, packed up my 2 boys in the car and we drove up to the zone of totality. Because I am a totality type of guy. You know, like all in. Orthodox people like have a big affinity for totality, you know?
That, yes.
Like they don't, like to like half, none of this stuff. We like to go all the way. So here I am in the zone, and I've gone up to see the eclipse, and the eclipse was wonderful and it was awesome. And by the way, I'm going to start off with a little insight. Many years ago, 1913, I believe it was.
You were just a wee lad, right?
Yeah. The great sage, Rabbi Kagan, known as the Chafetz Chaim, witnessed a eclipse. And the eclipse was big news in his time, like it is in our time. And he said the night before the eclipse, he says, it really is a mitzvah. It's a good deed to witness an eclipse. Why is it a good deed to witness an eclipse? I understand it's nice, it's interesting, it's fun, but why should you go out of your way to witness an eclipse? So the reason we witness an eclipse is because, he says, the sun is a very powerful thing. And it teaches us a great lesson. Even though the most powerful thing around is the sun, even that can be eclipsed.
Oh, I like that.
I don't think that there's anything that you know of that can't be eclipsed, except for God, who can't be eclipsed.
Very good.
So God says, people get used to the sun, and that's a lesson. If the sun can be eclipsed, then anything else that is happening that you know of can be blotted out. And by the way, what blacks out the sun? The moon. Interesting thing, by the way. You know that the moon is 1/400th of the size of the sun.
Didn't know that.
The moon also happens to be 400 times closer to Earth than the sun.
That's pretty convenient.
and therefore you can have the eclipse.
Yeah,
Because
that
if
makes
either of
sense.
those numbers would be
Right,
off,
then you'd have a problem.
then there wouldn't be any, there would
Right.
never be eclipses, but only because you got both of those too, which is a pretty interesting thing. And we could do a whole class, by the way, on the number 440, 400 in the Torah, because 40 is a very creation number, big creation number.
Right.
So it kind of bespeaks, there's a great midrash that tells us that God created the sun and he created the moon. And the moon was a luminary that was as big as the sun, but God shrank it, particularly it was shrunk, but later on we believe that it is ultimately going to get re-expanded and become a great luminary like the sun once again.
Now, does that have anything to do with the Kabbalistic thought of the sun representing God and the moon representing the Jews or man?
The sun represents the physical world as it was created,
okay.
which is, into our understanding, a constant. It's like the sun; it's always a constant, you know?
Right.
Never waxes and wanes. The moon is like Israel. Israel goes through the constant, waxing and waning. Sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's smaller, but that's the Israel way.
Sounds
but
right.
someday we believe Israel is going to be re-expanded again, and it's going to become a big constant again, but not now.
Oh, gotcha. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes sense.
But anyway, so I get up there,
Yep.
drive up North Georgia, right into the zone, totality, crowds, traffic, and all that. It was okay. We managed. Even with all of the crowds and all the traffic, I still would rather drive to Clayton, Georgia, 87 miles north of Atlanta, any day with millions of other people than drive to Hartsfield Airport at
Oh,
6
God,
p.m.
no, I'm with
on
you there.
any weekday afternoon.
Good point.
Forget that.
With
you know, that's just totally off the map.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we get up there and we're out. I found a place with some shade, found a place with some concession stand, and sit down. And the strangest thing happened. As soon as I get out there, I look around, and at first I see some guy, Asian fellow. He's setting up all kinds of equipment. He's got electronics.
Is that
and gear.
Robert Lee, or is that a different guy?
Yeah.
No,
Right. L.I.
Oh, okay.
L.I. is last name.
get very
And
confused.
I just walked over to him and started talking to him. And before I noticed it, I started talking to everybody. And everybody was talking to me. And we're all just sitting around, we're schmoozing, and guy gives out free beers at the concession stand, and people are sitting around and lounging, and showing each other their little contraptions to see the sun and the eclipse.
Right.
And a biker pulls in with a girl on the back of his bike, and they just pull in out of nowhere, and hey, everyone got glasses, and they became part of the group, and you know. And the amazing thing was, the sight of the sun being totally eclipsed was certainly awesome. The blackness of that black dot is the blackest thing I ever saw.
It's pretty cool.
Highlighted by that, that blazing corona. And then when the sun came out from behind it, when it started to peek out from behind it, it was the most amazingly brilliant sight.
It wasn't as brilliant here in the parking lot of our studio here. It was not as brilliant.
I had a feeling that was the case, and that's why we went up there.
Good call.
But the more interesting thing was the camaraderie and the brotherhood amongst all the people who were sitting around waiting for this to happen. Strangers. Now, I look a little bit different.
I'd say so.
And
the rabbi stuff too. Okay, I know what you meant.
and there were people there that looked a little different.
Right.
There were people of color, and I didn't even know some of those colors.
Right.
There was a girl that was selling the glasses, and then she sat down at my table, and we started talking, and she turned out to be a boy. And, there was just all kinds of different
That's
folks.
normal these days.
Yeah, I mentioned the biker and the classic biker with the girl.
The cameraman were a little bit worried sometimes.
Yeah.
That happens. That happens.
So all kinds of people, and everyone is just talking.
I like it.
And people say to me, "Hey, what's with the strings?" And I'm talking about the strings.
Right.
People are just getting up and dancing. People start dancing with each other, and it's strangers just get up and dance. The whole thing was just amazing. So when I came back, I was really just remarking about this. I felt so good to be with these people. It got black. We all experienced it together. Really, really nice. came back, started meeting other people who had actually been up in the zone, and I said to them, what was it like? And they started describing me scenes that were all just like mine.
Wow.
They all had the same experience. So I'm thinking, what was it about the eclipse that made all these people so close, so open, so comfortable, even though, all the stuff that's going on? There were people there that were clearly on both sides of Charlottesville.
Right,
There were clearly people there who thought that all kinds of different colors, lives matter, right? And then I'm sure that would have gone to the mat over their issues, and yet everyone was just sitting and talking and sharing and being friendly. And, people are looking at the sun through different contraptions and said, well, can I look? Yeah, sure, here, look, what's going on? So I realized a very interesting thing. Isaiah the prophet, in a portion that was read in synagogues just this last week, he talks about the fact that there's going to come a herald of the Messiah. When the Messiah comes, you'll know about it. And you'll have plenty of time to prepare. You know why?
What's that?
Because the day before, there's going to be an announcement that Messiah's coming tomorrow.
Now, is this going to be on Scientific TV, or where is this going to be?
I think, from what I understand, I've heard that Scientific already got the rights for this.
There you go.
So it's going to be there first, but I'm sure others will pick it up, and it maybe even they'll get it on some of the other secondary sources like Facebook and things like that.
Minor stuff, right?
Right. But it's supposed to be heralded, meaning this, and we believe it's Elijah the prophet's going to come and he's say, tomorrow is the day of the Messiah. And so it says, Isaiah says he's going to come and he's going to announce peace, Torah, and salvation. So salvation, that's the Messiah coming and all that. And Torah, Elijah's going to teach us a lot of things, the insights into Torah that we didn't know.
Right.
But what's the deal? Peace. He's going to announce peace. So you ever wonder, Messiah comes, how's the world going to go peaceful?
That's a good question. I was having when you're saying that. It's just peace. That's it. Peace.
Think about that. Why the Messiah comes and all of a sudden, Kim Jong Il is going to get to be King Jong healthy.
That's good one.
What is going to happen? All of a sudden, everyone's just going to give up everything. Or,
Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are going to hug.
Yeah,
it's going to be big.
Are people? What about all the built-up animosities and hatreds, and what about the haves and the have-nots and the inequalities and on and on and on and on? I mean, people have harmed other people. Hutus and Tutsis are just going to all of a sudden forget it.
Right, dogs and cats.
How's the Messiah going to do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
How is that going to happen? And you think, well, maybe the Messiah is going to get out there. He's going to start to have to fly around the world and negotiate. No, it's going to happen like that.
Wow.
Just like that. Elijah's going to come and says, tomorrow, going to be peace. You know how it's going to happen?
How?
Just like at that eclipse. What happens is, I believe, that when you get a group of people, and they're sitting there, and they're about to see something that is really, really awesome, everyone sits there, and everyone looks up, and everyone goes, oh. And, your mouth is open, and you cannot believe it. And first, it's getting dark. And you're sitting there going, this is weird. As it gets darker and darker, there's no shadows, there's no sun setting, it's just getting darker. And everyone is feeling this is really weird. And you realize that something very, very different is happening.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, it really does. I can see it. I can see that happening. That would be the only way.
And then you realize, hey, me and my concerns, somebody has got this all under control. Way, way, way beyond me. And everything is being taken care of.
And you think they're going to get that. Just with the snap of the finger, you think
it's
they're going to get that.
It's going to be so awesome if the eclipse could bring about that type of just spontaneous brotherhood.
Right.
I mean, people were sharing, were open, were talking, it didn't matter who you were, where you were. No one was asking, anything about, what do you believe or not believe or feel. Everyone is just, hey, look at this, look at that, whoa, wow.
So you think there, Netanyahu and a bus and all these people are going to hug it out right there on top of the Temple Mount. It's all going to happen right there.
I think that everyone's going to look up and go, wow, we have been really petty.
Now, that's a good point.
We are really small. This is really big. And you know what else? Not only is it big, it's in control. It's all in control. At 2:36, this thing, you know what this thing is? The sun. You know what the sun is? That's life. As far as we all know it,
Right.
the sun is life.
Mhm.
No sun, no planet Earth, no photosynthesis, nothing grows,
Right.
no heat, no nothing, no energy.
Not a good scene.
Right. Like the sun, as far as we go, is everything. And then all of a sudden, it's going to be eclipse. And on target at a certain time, a certain
Wow.
place, we go, wow, you know what? This is way bigger than us, and this has been all figured out. Someone told me that someone said, was they watching the eclipse, they said, hey, all you guys, if you don't believe in God, take a look up there, right?
Wow,
It's
yeah.
just a sense of something great and awesome that is going to unify, and everyone can realize, like, you know, that sun is eclipsing for me, and it's eclipsing for the white guy and the black guy and this gender and this country and that country. It's all the same sun, and it's ours, and it's all in control. So when Elijah comes, he's going to say, you know what? Tomorrow there's going to be peace. And when the Messiah comes to the world, we're all going to say, oh, wow, this is all under control. I got it.
I mean, that's good and it's interesting, but you know, I assume that more is going to happen in the Messiah just because they're all going to get it. Everybody's going to. I mean, that snap of the finger has to be doing something else as well. Because, listen, I mean, we are as far from getting it right now in our society than probably ever. So, what happens in that snap? There's got to be something else.
So I
Something
believe
spiritual.
that we are all feeling a sense of being out of control.
I agree with
The
you.
world is chaotic and we're all scared. Everybody is scared. Everyone, you go on, and everyone thinks, I'll tell you a great one, you know, everyone is afraid of the Nazis. I can prove everyone's afraid of the Nazis. You know why? Because the white supremacists will tell you that the reason they have to have guns is because if they had guns in Hitler's time, then Hitler wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
So we got to hold them against so there can't be another Hitler. The Antifa fascist guys that are beating up these guys are afraid that these guys are going to be Hitler again. So that white supremacists and the Antifa guys are scuffling with each other because they're both afraid of Hitler. Isn't that strange? Like, what's going on? So everyone is afraid. You know, the Jews are afraid someone's going to come along and cart them all off. Someone's going to take over and put them all in concentration camps and gas them. The homosexuals are afraid that someone's going to round them all up and put them in concentration camps and gas them. The white supremacists are afraid that the liberals are going to round them all up and put them in concentration camps and gas them. Or they're going to not want to sell a birthday cake, a wedding cake to the homosexual, and then they're going to be put in for... And everyone's afraid that someone's going to do something horrible to them. Right? And they're all conflicting fears. But everyone's afraid. That's one thing we all have in common. The world is walking around afraid because we're in chaos. When you see an event like this, it tells you, no, it's not chaotic. And when the Messiah comes, he's basically going to say, I got it under control. And as soon as we realize it's under control, everyone's going to breathe a sigh of relief, and we're not going to have to be fighting with each other.
So you even think that, like, example, the people today that say that we're destroying the climate, we're destroying the earth because we breathe too much, or cows have gas, or we drive a big car, they're going to say, wait a minute, I was wrong and God really had this all along? It wasn't really me driving my SUV to work? God has this?
Right, this is also part of it. This impending fear of, there's impending fear of social calamity, of physical calamity, you know, natural disaster. There's all this fear. This we spend a lot of time with insurance and protecting and stuff. So all of these fears will go away because we realize, you know what? If he can make an eclipse of the sun, he can certainly take care of the climate. It's all going to work out. We'll get the right instructions. We'll be told what to do. Everything's going to be okay. And you know what? This new regime, it's not just for them, it's even for me too. See, up until now, everyone, just like I heard today, everyone's talking about how Trump has like destroyed the presidency because there's no one you can look to anymore. Now, of course, half of the country thought that for the previous 8 years there was no one you could look to, right? But, you know, that's ignored. It's like Trump is blamed because he's not a president you can have confidence with. assuming that for the previous 8 years there was a president you can have confidence with. Well, of course, half the country didn't have confidence in that president, so there was going to be a point. See, half the country thought, this is my man, I can trust him. But the other half of the country thinks, but he's against me. So then they flip-flop, so they go from Obama to Trump. Absolutely. So they flip sides. Now one half of the group is out, and the other half is in. So now half are feeling confident, and the other half are afraid. But that's still not going to do it. We got to get someone that everyone feels confidence in, and that is where the Messiah is going to come, because everyone's going to say, oh yeah, he's for me. Just like I saw that sun, that eclipse, that's for me. It's for me, it's for you, it's for everybody. It's, how can we say, it's not my eclipse, it's not your eclipse,
No,
everybody's
true.
eclipse.
Oh, you're a positive thinking man. I like
Yeah,
this. I mean, this is real positive thinking.
It was beautiful. I mean, it was so far beyond a kumbaya moment. It was like kumbaya.
Did everybody hold hands and you circle
No,
around?
no, but that's a really good question.
Right.
I want to mention this. This
Right.
is really, really important.
Okay.
When the eclipse got to totality, a group of people jumped up out of nowhere and started juggling.
Now you have me.
And I'm looking at it. I'm looking at these people. I go, well, I mean, guys, you're juggling like.
There's an eclipse.
They did you see that? Isn't that the coolest thing? What are you juggling for?
Did they have the glasses on and still looking while they were juggling? Or not?
I don't think so, because the glasses really everything else pretty black. And we had to take off the glasses. When in totality, when you looked up, you saw nothing.
Wow.
So you had to take off the glasses in totality to see anything.
Wow.
So they didn't have glasses on, but they were juggling. And I realized they came all the way there to ignore it.
That's meaningful. I don't know how, but man, that's meaningful.
They went out of their way. They could have stayed home
to juggle.
They could have juggled in a parking lot,
Wow.
right? I mean, if you want to juggle in a parking lot, juggle in your house, juggle in air conditioning. It was hot out there, It got cool during the eclipse, but otherwise it was hot. Why they went all the way there to say, we're not paying attention. We're going to stand right in front of this most awesome sight, and we're going to juggle. So there.
Wow. So what the rabbi is saying is that the sign of the Mashiach is juggling. When you see a group of people juggling, Mashiach's on his
Those
way.
are Mashiach ignorers. So what it means is, you still have to have the ability to pay attention. And I think the people that had the ability to pay attention, I think they walked away with a very, very transformative moment where they saw the potential of this great peace and brotherhood for just a moment, and they realized that it really could happen, because it happened for about, I guess it was 2 minutes. Right. It happened for 2 minutes. It could happen more. But some people there were just ignoring it.
Well, that's, I guess, the real big question now, because it would be in my mind. I see things every day that I say, wow, that's miraculous, that's the greatest thing. And then sometimes if I'm busy and I'm driving down the road, I probably miss 13 good miracles that were amazing. Yeah. Are you not worried that we're going to miss it?
Yeah, you know what? When it happens,
I might be juggling.
When it finally happens, it'll have to be so awesome that you won't be able to miss it.
Okay, that's important.
And that's but this was an omen to me. This was a sign to me that it's there and it's possible.
Wow, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
See, I bet none of you took this tape on the eclipse.
Yeah.
So
I certainly didn't have it before I went.
Throw down your baseball bats, your swastikas, and everything else there. Stop tearing down those statues, and let's all come together.
That's right.
All right. Well, we will see you next week. Next week, God willing, on another great informative episode of Jeff and the Rabbi.